Hello, everyone. Welcome back to All About America's Team, brought to you by Delahanty Media. I am your host, Ray Nickens, joined with my co host, as always.
Owens Chico.
And we are excited to talk some Cowboys football today, as the Cowboys will be traveling to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. As always, we will break down some key matchups for you guys, as well as go into some game plans for success for the Dallas Cowboys, and then give our score predictions. And finally, we will wrap that up with Escape from Reality. But I myself and Owen is excited to be back recording. We had a little bit of a hiatus. I saw James Bond on Sunday, and it was okay. That's all I have to say about that. But let's get right into it. Owen, what do you have for us with the news?
So, sadly, Tyron Smith found himself on the injury report and he was limited with his neck. And yesterday, I was looking on Twitter and seeing how everyone was raving about how healthy he is. Because in years past, I'm sure if you are an off-season fanatic and like to know every little detail about the off-season, you know that every year Tyron says, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. But this year, what he did is that he decided to take off his neck brace. And obviously, everyone's parents have told them that actions speak louder than words. So, him taking off that neck brace, in my opinion, he could say that he's healthy for the rest of his life. But him taking off that neck brace means more than any of that. And for him to find himself back on the injury report, hopefully it's nothing and it was just like precautionary, but it's not great because one of the positions that the Cowboys have like zero good depth is at tackle, and to see a tackle of his caliber on the injury report, it's not something that is great to see, but hopefully it's nothing much. And honestly, this is probably the best time for it to happen because we have our bye week next week. So he can take a little bit of rest, and hopefully it'll fix his neck ailment. But that's all I have. That's all that I saw. Besides that, um, Sean McKeon, who was a training camp, like everyone loved him, and Kelvin Joseph have been, I don't know what the word is, like designated to play. So they have 3 weeks to be activated to the roster. If not, then they will be on IR for the year. So hopefully at least Kelvin will be able to come and play against the Vikings, I believe, after the bye week, and he will be able to help against their pretty great wide receivers. But that'll be a conversation for a few weeks from now. But yeah, I think that's all I got. Um, Injury report wise.
Yeah, I think we should probably emphasize that it is probably nothing, especially with it coming so late in the week when it comes to Tyron Smith. I myself probably think it's more related to rest, and they're just putting the questionable designation because he didn't practice one day, I guess. Um, I think it will be okay. I don't recall him being nicked up after the Giants game or any games before that. So I'm just going to, unless we hear anything more. I know. I mean, every time we get off the recording, it seems like something huge happens. I know last week Jalen Smith, he was cut. I was not able to celebrate live, so I'm going to celebrate live right now. Jalen, I appreciate all of your, I guess,
Sacrifices.
sacrifices for this team and your effort for this team, but I don't think that we really needed you anymore. So it was time for Jalen Smith to go. But like I said, we got off from recording this podcast, and then later on that night, I get it on my phone that he's been released. I'm like, well, that would have been really nice to know 2 hours ago when we were recording this. But yeah, I think Tyron Smith will be okay. I think he'll be available, and even if he isn't 100%, I think 85% of Tyron Smith is going to be fine for this week. But let's get right into the key matchups. So the New England Patriots, they will be the home team for this game. I think that in and of itself is something to look out for because I believe that Foxborough, New England, is a alien created facility because there's no way that Foxborough can get so many breaks weather wise like all the time. Like last week, or when they played the Bucks 2 weeks ago, torrential downpour against the high flying Bucks offense, and that really had something to do with the outcome of that football game, even though the Bucks evidently won. And then, of course, back in 2019 when the Cowboys played the Bucks, another torrential downpour. I know there's been quite a lot of snow games in Foxborough that have been beneficial for the home team. So I really think Bill Belichick has made a deal with the aliens to build his stadium and then just create rain whenever he asks them to do so. So that in and of itself is something to look out for. If it's raining hard in Foxborough, you heard it here first. It's created by aliens. But anyway, with that being said, I think the New England Patriots linebacking core is something to look out for, and them paired with their front seven, it's going to be a thing to look out for. Matt Judon, I'm sorry, I don't think I pronounced that right, but he's been their leader of sacks. He has 6.5. I think he's one of the top 3 or maybe top 2 players leading in sacks this year. He's going to be something to look out for. We before this, we didn't really know exactly where he was lining up, so we kind of did a little bit of research on that right before this we started recording, and it looks like that he plays pretty much everywhere. So he's not really lined up at one specific spot, but we assume if he's going to be blitzing, he'll probably be going up against one of the tackles. And knowing Bill Belichick, he'll probably be lining him up against Terrence Steele. So that'll be something to look out for. Terrence Steele has improved over this year than he was last year. So that's still going to be an interesting matchup because Cowboys, if they can keep Dak Prescott protected, they should have no issue throwing the football in this game. Dante Hightower, Kyle Van Noy, they're 2 also very good linebackers. They play the run well, and Dante Hightower has been a star for a while in the league. So he's going to be someone to look out for sure, just to make sure that we keep him accountable. We block him in the run, just keep tracks of where he is, and then obviously their defensive line, Chase Winovich, Lawrence Guy. I don't really know much about them, but they're on the defensive line. We need to block them. So just block them. But yeah, their secondary has some pretty recognizable names. JC Jackson, he has 2 interceptions. He's had a pretty good game through 5 weeks. Obviously not Trayvon Diggs type of game, but no one's really doing that. But him having 2 interceptions through 6 weeks is enough to maybe consider caution when throwing his way. He'll probably be lining up against Amari as he is their best corner. Then they have Jalen Mills from the Philadelphia Eagles. He is not on the level of J.C. Jackson, but I still think he's a decent corner. So he's gonna take advantage of a poor decision. So just look out for that. And then Devin McCourty at safety. He's a seasoned veteran. He's gonna be around watching. Always we need to just always take into account where he is and not give him any chance to get interceptions. I'll be talking a little bit later on with the game plan, and a lot of it is under the category of not turning the football over. Because if we turn the football over and give them opportunities to beat us, Bill Belichick's team will beat us. So that should just emphasize caution and emphasize taking care of the football. But other than that, just some people to watch on the Patriots offense. Damian Harris, he's not a Saquon or a Christian McCaffrey, although neither of those players had any impact on their games against us because they got hurt or were hurt before the game. But he is a decent running back. He's probably going to be the best running back we've faced so far. The Patriots are going to emphasize running the football on us with the rookie quarterback. So stopping him will do wonders in us getting the victory. Then also Nelson Aguilar. He had some drop issues, but he kind of revamped his career last year with the Raiders. He's their deep threat. He's going to be their over the top guy. So we really haven't seen Mac Jones throw the ball deep, but if he were to throw the ball deep, this is the guy he will be targeting. And then also Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, they're two big tight end free agent signings. That's who Mac Jones likes to get the ball to, is to his tight ends. So anything short will probably be going to Jonnu Smith or Hunter Henry. So those are just some key guys on offense for us to look out for. But other than that, that's kind of all I have, and interested to see what you have to say.
Yeah, so sadly, I feel like this is a recurring theme when we have these key matchups. A few of them you already talked about, so I'm gonna bring up the ones that you did not already say, so it is not verbatim back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I think you and I can both agree, Tyler Biadasz has not had a great start to the year,
Right.
and this past week in practice, I don't know if I think it was pretty obvious to tell that Biadasz had a lot of bad snaps. And this past week in practice, Biadasz was working out with Dak, and the other centers there were Connor Williams and Connor McGovern. So I think that if their two D tackles, the Patriots, are 300 pounds and up, I don't think Biadasz. I think this season he has not really worked well with bigger defensive tackles. Looking at Vita and also the Chargers defensive tackle, I forget what his name was. So he did not have great games against them, and hopefully, if it's a recurring theme this game with Connor McGovern and with Connor Williams or McGovern with him getting second reps or second team reps at center, he'll be able to go in if Tyler has his reoccurring hiccups.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like you said, Hunter Henry versus the Cowboys linebackers and safeties. Hunter Henry, just looking at their depth chart, if you only look at football like Instagram or Twitter wise, I think Hunter Henry is going to be the only name that pops up and shows anything because he had a really good career early on, kind of like Tyler Eifert. If you remember him from the Bengals, he's disappeared the past few years. But Hunter had a pretty good start to his career and is now on the Patriots, and you can't take him lightly. Also, Diggs and um, Mac Jones, they both went to Alabama, so I think they know each other pretty well. And Mac Jones, he wasn't a starter until the year before he was drafted. So I'd assume that Diggs would know some of the little things about Mac, kind of like how he knew against Jalen Hurts that when he had a 3-step drop back, it was either a slant or an out route, and then he took it to the house. So hopefully Diggs will just use his instincts to know that what Mac Jones likes and what he doesn't like. And honestly, always a big one. Their defensive line versus our offensive line, and our defensive line versus their offensive line. Because last week against the Giants, and I feel like the past few games, Dallas does not start off hot sack wise in the beginning of the game. They somehow wear you out, and then in the second half they just take over. The Patriots game, Giants game, a lot of their sacks were in the second half. They might have had a few in the first quarter, but it's mostly in the second half, which is great. But you'd like to see that kind of happen in the beginning of the game to assert your dominance. But I think that's all I have for the key matchups wise. And also, like you said, their linebacking core, they have 3 guys, and Donta Hightower was regarded as one of the top guys a few years ago when the Patriots dynasty was at their top. So I think that's what I have key matchups wise. But I want to ask you one question before we get into the game plan. Have the
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys been lucky, or are they winning based off skill? Because
Well, that is a
I know that you and I have gone back and forth on this topic, and I know there was one game I know there was one game specifically that you think that team did not show their best effort and they brought out their B team to the field. And I would like to I want if you want to go game by game, go for it. But I know that you, being a more pessimistic Cowboys fan, did not see this coming at all. I don't think a lot of people saw this coming, and you voiced your opinions. And I would like to see. I want to hear, obviously, like my question, if you think this is, if they deserve 3-4, if they've earned 3-4, or if they've been gifted, or sorry, if they've been gifted a 4-1 start, or if they earned a 4-1 start. So the floor is yours.
Okay, so the one game you're speaking of, I think that they were lucky to win the game against the Chargers. And the reason I think that is because the Chargers did not punt the football that game. They pretty much went down the field on the Cowboys, every single possession. They got into the red zone. And to the Cowboys' credit, they did stop them in the red zone. But there were two specific plays in that second half where the Chargers did score a touchdown. They scored a touchdown, and it was called back because of an offensive holding. And one of those offensive holdings was very tic tac and may or may not have should have been called. I think it was actually an illegal formation or something like that, or
Yeah.
illegal team person downfield. But it was a ticky tack foul. They called it whatever. But the Chargers, they had 12 or 13 of their 15 penalties on offense, and they were still able to drive um, against the Cowboys and not punt a single time. So, and then of course the very next week or the 2 weeks from then, they took out the Chiefs and then they beat the Browns in a shootout. So I think if we were to play the Chargers again, we would probably not win because the Chargers they I think they're better at a lot of positions, especially other than running back and receiver and maybe corner. I don't know, but I think the quarterback position is very close. They do about the same things. Herbert's progression is far ahead of Dak's progression, but Herbert in year 2 is around the same where Dak is in year 5. But I think the Chargers, we should have lost that game. We got lucky in that game, so that's just one game. Other than that, they have earned what they have done. The Bucks game they lost, and the Panthers game they played well enough against the Panthers. Christian McCaffrey wasn't there. I think there may have been a different outcome if he was there. But the Cowboys earned that game. There was no break during the game that helped them win in that game. And then the Giants game, it was the Giants game is hard because I feel like the Cowboys would have won anyway, even if a lot of those players that the Giants had were in the game. But the fact that the entire offense was pretty much out of the picture by the third quarter is very interesting. And the game was fairly close in the start of that third quarter also. I think it was only like a 7-point game at that point. I think the Mike Glennon interception, and then of course the pick six. Yeah, they had a pick six right at the
The
end.
pick six was with like under 2 minutes left. The game was already wrapped up by then.
Yeah, so the pick six kind of inflated the victory, and then of course the interception by Trayvon. I don't know. It wasn't a very great throw, but it was a great play. But I still think that the Cowboys would have won that game, even if Daniel Jones and Kenny Galladay and Saquon were in there, because they just have a better football team than the Giants do, and it was also at home. But I think the Cowboys, they've earned their record, and by recreating their identity of running first and passing second and making them more balanced, because I came into the season thinking that they were just going to throw. And if they had done that, I don't think they would be 4-1 right now. I think they'd be more closer to like a 2-3 or a 3-3. But I think that the Cowboys realistically, if without them getting lucky, would be 4-2. But that's still way better than I expected. But no, they did not luck into their record.
Okay. Yeah, the Giants game, we did not get to cover that game because of schedule difficulties, but I that game was interesting. I won't get too deep into it, just based off what you said. Yeah, that game did not really start off the best, but I don't know. They did not play well at all. And I think one thing that I love about Mike McCarthy is a few of these games. Well, we blew out just because of the second half. Sam Darnold being the Sam Darnold from East Rutherford, New Jersey. He blew that game wide open. But I like how the Cowboys, their mentality is we left a lot on the field and we're gonna get better. I feel like under Jason Garrett they would have been satisfied with that, or under not under a different mentality. I feel like this team mentality is way different. If you watch the sounds from the sidelines, one of my personal favorite things that the Dallas Cowboys social media team does, every single time Trayvon Diggs was around the ball, the whole bench was going crazy, and I think that just speaks to how close knit this team is. And I don't know if anyone listening follows any Cowboys players on Instagram, but a few most of the team went live, and I don't know if people are like know what a locker room looks like, but they're like two laundry bins and they were playing basketball and the whole place was going crazy. Jordan Lewis lost to Micah Parsons. He owes him like $2,000. It was great. But I think this team is just way closer, and I love how they're never satisfied, and I love how after every game, if they win, they say they're 1-0. It's they're not 4-1 to them at least. And I like how after the Mike McCarthy, when he addressed the team, he didn't even know how many games they won. He said they were 3-1 after beating the Giants, and you could say that he's not all there and all that, but I think that it just shows that they don't care what their overall record is. They're just focused on week by week, which is something that I am a very big fan of. Any comments on that?
I mean, no, like it. I don't have any pushback. I think I think what's going to happen and what we should think about moving on, because I don't think the Cowboys have a pretty cupcake schedule. Now they play the Raiders, who don't have a head coach anymore. They're going to play the Giants again, Philly again, the Broncos, which will be a semi tough game because of their defense, but shouldn't be much of a problem. But the really only games that are a cause to pause moving forward are the Chiefs and the Cardinals late in the year. Depending on whether or not Washington turns it around, they're another two games that we have to play versus them. But they're not what I expected them to be. They don't have Fitzmagic. I don't know if he would have changed anything regarding their record, but he's not playing. But I think what's going to happen is we're going to learn a lot about the Cowboys in the postseason. We can't really judge them now because I guess we can judge them against the Chiefs. That's really only in the Cardinals. Those are the two games that we can judge the Cowboys on, and that's only two games. I think when they get into the postseason, and they'll be in an atmosphere that a lot of those players don't really.
Most of them don't.
Most of them don't. It's a very young team. They're going to be in the postseason. It's going to be a first, test with McCarthy. McCarthy's blunders early on in the year may or may not be as they might be more
Heinous.
they might be more substantial in the postseason and more of a consequence to their win or loss. But I think in the postseason we're going to see teams, a lot better football teams. Cardinals, we'll probably see the Cardinals maybe, or the Rams or the Packers. So the teams that we won't play the Rams, we won't play the Packers. We're not going to who else is in this? I don't know. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is we're going to see better well-rounded teams. And I think if what the Cowboys should be focusing on moving forward is just doing their job, which is just going in and beating the team that they should beat and giving the team that they should lose to a challenge. And
No, you finish. Sorry.
yeah, and just putting good tape out there, because I don't really think I can really judge their skill set. I mean, I know that a bunch of people are putting them like top one in the NFL or top two in the NFL or top three, and I'm just like, I can't really do that because I don't really know what they are yet. They like I said, the run D, we still don't know about them. Christian McCaffrey, we didn't play. Saquon was out, I think, in the first quarter. Um, the entire Giants wide receiving core was out. No Shepard, no Slayton. Um, uh, their rookie went off. Tony went off, but I think we're going to see a little bit more about the Cowboys in the postseason. And but like I said, I don't think they're lucky. I think they've earned what they've received. They've played well
Fair.
enough to win three games, and they got a break in one of those games, and now they're 4-1. So, um, I think they're in a good position because like I said before the season started, this was kind of their trial run, like the Dak trial run, and they got through the Dak trial run pretty well. Those were definitely their toughest tests, other than the Chiefs, and so in the Cardinals, so they're in a good spot.
Yeah. Interesting. You bring up. I agree with everything you said, but bringing up the cupcake schedule, the Bills are, besides the Cowboys. s- People that understand football say the Bills are the best team in the NFL. Can we both agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. They have played the Steelers and they lost. They beat the Dolphins and the Dolphins didn't score. They beat Washington, they beat Texans, and they beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the best team they've played. Next they have the Titans, Dolphins, Jaguars, Jets, Colts, Saints, Patriots, Buccaneers. Okay, that game. Panthers, Patriots, Falcons. The Bills may not lose. They they're the most amount of games they may lose is four. But beating up against the Jaguars doesn't mean anything because their schedule is also easy, and they haven't played anyone besides the Chiefs. And but even before last week, I think a lot of people understood that the Chiefs team is not what it was in recent years. And for all we know, next week things are going to click and they're going to look amazing. But that team they played against was not great, and the Bills haven't really played anyone either. I remember after week 1 when they lost to the Steelers, I saw some tweets about how Josh Allen didn't look good, how he was going to have a regression year, and look what he's doing now. People are just talking really really great things about him in that team, but I don't think it's fair to use their schedule because you're supposed to beat teams that you're supposed to beat teams that are bad. And the Cowboys have had really hard schedules in the past and they haven't done well at all. And I don't think you can just blame teams based off their schedule. Like if Dallas was 0-5, okay, yeah, they're really bad. But they're beating team they're supposed to, and other teams like the Bills have a really, I think we can both agree they have a pretty easy schedule, and they're doing really well too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So like I said, and I think I touched on this, the Cowboys' first 5 weeks was going to be their determining factor of their season. Because the
100%.
first 5 weeks, they had the Bucks, they had the Chargers, who I said before the year are going to be a playoff team. They had the Panthers, who I think I also said may or will potentially be a playoff team regarding McCaffrey's health. They started off really strong, and now that McCaffrey's not healthy, they've fallen back a little bit. And then they had the Giants, which the Giants are a lot worse than I expected them to be, especially since they had a pretty strong finish to the year with their defense. And now they play the Patriots. But I think the difference between the Cowboys and the Bills, and I'm not criticizing them for their schedule. I'm just saying I'm not going to learn very much about the Cowboys until the postseason. Because one, the Cowboys, they weren't in the postseason last year, and they weren't in the postseason the year before. So the Cowboys aren't really a postseason team in the most like relevant last 2 years. And the Bills, they're coming off of they've made the postseason 3 straight years. Last year they were in the NFC Championship game and lost to the Chiefs. So I know what the Bills are as a team. I know that they're a Super Bowl aspiring team because they were one step away from playing in the Super Bowl. They have the pieces to win the Super Bowl. They have a solid team. I know that they can win in the postseason. I don't know if the Cowboys can win in the postseason. And I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll make the postseason this year. But who knows? They could fall flat on their face, and we could be talking about this week 17 right before the playoffs, laughing about how much of a disaster they turned into. But I get what you're saying about their cupcake schedule, and it's a point that people should be making. But all you have to do is turn back the clock a few months and realize that they were playing in the for a Super Bowl berth 5, 6, 7 months ago, and they pretty much brought back that entire team. So the fact that they're doing their response, what they're supposed to do, and they beat the Chiefs, and pretty much shut down the Chiefs' offense, were able to slow down Mahomes is just a little bit. Is just an example of like, hey, the
Yeah,
Bills are still here. Yeah.
yeah, of course. But I think one last thing about I'm gonna say one last thing, and then you can either respond or we can just move on. So
Hmm.
Buccaneers, obviously, everyone loved them. The Chargers, that game we can just put that game aside because that game was a very bad one. But after week one, the Eagles were the only 1-0 team in the NFC East. And I'm sure you saw people were saying how great they were going to be, how Jalen Hurts was going to win MVP and all that. So I think that,
Yeah. Well,
that,
really quickly, those people are not very smart
oh, yeah, of
because they
course.
played the Falcons.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
no one wanted to take that into consideration. But there could be an argument made that Dallas's first 5 games were harder than the Bills because Washington isn't
They
Washington anymore.
absolutely they were harder, and that's why that's why when we were talking about it, I was like, this is our test, and
Exactly.
I said this is our test, and with the quarterback who didn't play in the preseason, we might struggle these first 5 weeks. Evidently, we didn't struggle, but it was still a huge challenge for us.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure everyone saw it. The Panthers, putting aside the McCaffrey injury, people were their defense. Take away McCaffrey, their defense was still really, really good, and Dallas just wore them down. And yeah, Sam Darnold made some idiot decisions and brought the Cowboys back into it. But early in that game, I thought Dallas was gonna get beat very badly because of how they looked, and they ended up coming back and winning it. And then I loved it because before the Cowboys and Panthers game, Panthers are great. They're gonna be they may have a wild card spot. They may even be able to beat out the Buccaneers. And then Monday morning, as soon as they lost to Dallas, Dallas hasn't. Everyone was saying, "Well, Dallas hasn't played anyone. Dallas's schedule has been really easy, and we all knew the Panthers stunk." But 48 hours ago, everyone was saying the Panthers are going to beat the Cowboys. Their defense is way better, and Dak's going to not have a good game. So it's just funny how obviously that just comes along with being um, on Dallas, but it's I feel like the media also has to talk badly about Dallas because the media does not win if Dallas is playing well. They don't get ratings. They need someone to bully on, and if you can't bully on Dallas, then there's really no point in bullying anyone. But I think that's my little rant about the Dallas's first 5 games. And since I've talked way more than I should have, you will be I will defer to you to talk about the Cowboys game plan to beat Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I agree. You ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just going into the game plan, I really only did a game plan for the Cowboys because I don't think I need to waste my time talking about the Patriots because I know that their game plan is going to be the best that it can possibly be to stop us. So I think for the Cowboys, what they need to do, I'm going to start with the defense. They need to stop the run because the Patriots, they don't have very good wide receivers, and I'm not going to act like that they do. The N'Keal Harry, this is his first game back, I believe. Um, Jacoby Myers, he's a decent wide receiver, but he's mediocre or a little bit worse. And then they have Kendrick Bourne, I think. I don't really know who he is. And of course they have their tight ends who will be Mac Jones's main targets. But if they can stop the run and slow down Damian Harris and make them one-dimensional, Trayvon Diggs should then get his seventh interception in 6 games and be a little bit closer to breaking that NFL record of 15, who Night Train Lane holds right now. But yeah, the other thing I can think of is don't give up any big plays. I know that the Cowboys are not going to be giving up very many big plays against the Mac Jones, but we really don't know if Mac Jones can throw down the field because he really hasn't tried. But one thing I will emphasize though, Trayvon Diggs, he's been going after a lot of underneath routes and jumping a lot of underneath routes. So I think if the Patriots wanted to get him a little bit playing back, they would have Nelson Aguilar, their deep threat, and run a double move. And I heard a lot of people saying that on talk shows or on websites, like, hey, he's jumping a lot of short routes, and I've seen that also of him getting most of his interceptions on breaking on the football. So I think if they were to run an early double move, even if Mac Jones is not capable of throwing that double move, if he can, still take that throw and maybe get like 20 or 30 yards off that play, then make Trayvon think a little bit about maybe jumping some routes. But other than that, they just made defense not give anything up cheap, not giving them any confidence. Cowboys are the favorites in this football game. They should be favorites. But if they give the Patriots any leeway, then the Patriots are well coached enough to capitalize. For the offense, I still think balance is important, even though the Patriots aren't the greatest defense as they were before. I still think balance is very important. Zeke should be able to run on them. And if we can neutralize the Patriots defense enough to where we're running the football well, then they'll have to, drop some safeties down, and we can win against Jalen Mills. I think Jalen Mills should be the cornerback to pick on, especially since we know him pretty well from him playing in Philly. So I think if we can attack him, we'll be successful. But I also think that we'll be able to run the ball effectively against them. And also another thing, take care of the ball. I'm emphasizing this the most because we've done a very good job of keeping the ball and not turning the ball over. But if we turn the ball over against the Patriots are probably going to capitalize on our turnovers. And that's the easiest way to lose this football game, is giving the Patriots any opportunity inside our own 50-yard line after a turnover. So if we can just keep the ball and not turn it over, I think we should be fine on that front. And also to score early. If we score early and force Mac Jones to play from behind, I think we'll have a lot more opportunities to take the ball away from the Patriots. If we're letting them stay close and hang around, I think there might be some disaster brewing in the fourth quarter. But other than that, I really don't see anything else that we really need to do. Another thing, we need to protect Dak. Their line, remind me what his name is again.
Judon.
Matt Judon. He's had 6.5 sacks. He can pressure the quarterback. We need to keep an eye on him. If we need to double him coming off the edge, we should, especially since I don't really know much about their defensive line. But if we can stop him and contain him and keep Dak Prescott on his feet, it should be okay on offense. As if we let them get in a rhythm and start sacking Dak and getting him off his rhythm, then it's not really going to be a fun game, because up to this point, Dak Prescott still, other than that Bucs game, hasn't really felt much pressure. And when he's felt pressure, he's gone down in the pocket. So I think if the Patriots if they want to win this football game, they need to put Dak Prescott on the ground, because as any quarterback, when they're sacked a bunch, they're going to get a little bit jumpy and not as calm in the pocket. So that should be their key emphasis if they want to win the game, is sack Prescott. But just one really last quick thing for special teams. No penalties that are dumb, and then just sound punt and kickoff return coverage. Don't give anything up easy on special teams, because that's a quick way for us to lose. But that's all I got for game plan. Pretty simple, pretty easy. What do you got for us?
So definitely, like you said, establish the run early and often, and then you throw the ball with play action And please, Kellen, no, no trick plays, please. I like what you did last week, where Zeke, where he pulled the Dion and ran into the end zone. I like how that the fakes that were going on there, but please no end arounds, no triple moves or triple fakes or anything like that. Just keep it simple because that's the way you're gonna. If you try to outsmart Belichick, you're gonna lose. So please don't do anything of that.
100%.
If the Patriots make mistakes and if they cough up the football, take advantage of it, please. And you have to be efficient in the red zone. We're not going to you can't beat Belichick by kicking field goals every single time. And I honestly, I would rather see Dallas in the 20-yard line to 50-yard line than on the 1 yard line to 20 because Dallas can't score a touchdown in the red zone to save their lives. And yeah, that's basically it. Just protect Dak, keep him up. It's probably, like Ray said, going to be really rainy for some reason in Foxborough. So Zeke and Pollard,
Actually,
get
let
out,
me
get
let
out
me
your.
really quickly. I'm just gonna pull up the weather because
Of
why? Well,
course.
let's just check the weather on that because I mean, not that it will matter. It will just come out of nowhere.
Oh yeah,
So,
no, it'll come
but
out of nowhere.
we're just gonna do a quick weather check.
But basically,
Well,
um,
Sunday we're looking at sunny and cloudy and 65 high. So
it'll
there's
rain.
the fact that there are clouds tells me that there's 100% chance of rain.
I remember Ray and I watched the Cowboys Patriots game in 2019, and that was just such a rough game. Dallas, they had so many different opportunities to win that game, but I think one of the disadvantages of playing in Dallas is that you can't really play in the rain. You're not really ready for it. But hopefully Dak in year 5 will be able to do things like that, and he will not let the rain and bad weather get the best of him. And Zeke, I know it's gonna be even. I know he's been having a great start to the year so far, but he's been no fumbles so far. But I think this game, if any, would be where he's most susceptible because of the rain and if there's rain and bad weather. Um, but yeah, no. Um, special teams coach Fossil, no, don't send like your whole special teams against their punter and get 15-yard penalties against like he did against the Chargers. None of that nonsense. And I think that if Dallas has they have a series of events where they will get up on a team early and then they will just take their foot off the gas. Like the Chargers game, they were up 14-0. They should have blown if they were going to average 14 points a quarter, they should have blown them out. But I feel like there are many times where they get up on teams early and they just like the momentum shifts, and hopefully they can stop that as the year goes on. But I don't know. My prediction, I originally had 27-13 for Dallas or Dallas winning, but then I realized in my head I was like, "Oh yeah, we're going up against Bill Belichick." So now I have 17-13. So in between, yeah, somewhere in that range of
Okay.
17 to 27 points. Dallas averages like 30, so we'll see what happens there. I don't know. I feel like it'll be very close the first half, and the second half, Kellen Moore will figure out that he has a whole playbook of plays, and they will win by a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have a similar pretty similar prediction to you. I have the Cowboys winning 24-15. I think that the Patriots will get a touchdown late, and then the Cowboys will have the ball late, and they'll have to get 2 first downs to win, and I think they'll end up getting 2 first downs and then taking a knee and running the clock out.
How do you get to 15 there? Or like, how do you think they're going to get to 15?
They're going to get a touchdown
And an extra
Wait,
point
that
or
doesn't even.
2-point conversion. 8.
Yeah.
No.
So touchdown and then 2-point conversion. for one of the touchdowns. So
Okay,
they're going to
so
get
6,
7, and then
8.
they're going to get 15. Or they're going to get 7, and then they're going to get 8.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
works.
So they're going to score. Well, actually, that doesn't even make sense because they'd be up 2 scores. But yeah, they're just going to get 15 points, and then they're going to win by 9 points. Cowboys are going to win by 9. So it's going to be a fairly stress-free game, and they're just going to have to battle and play a stress-free game.
All right, I have some questions for you, and then we can get into Ray's personal favorite segment of
Yes.
anything. Ray, if 50 years from now, if you ask Ray what is your best accomplishment, it is thinking of Escape from Reality on his
Absolutely.
college podcast.
Absolutely.
So
Especially since I was not expecting the Cowboys to be 4-1. I made this segment because I was expecting a lot of highs and lows this year, and that may potentially still happen. It's still very early, but segment was to give us a break. But now that we're winning and we also get to have some escape of reality time, it's just a dynamic
double
duo
win.
of positivity.
Ray needs something to get him to wake up. Ray needs something to get him to wake up in the morning. Usually for other people, it's coffee. For Ray, he just wakes up and says, "Hey, this week I get to do 2 escape from realities."
Exactly.
So, do you think that Diggs will pick up his 7th interception?
I think he will pick up his 7th interception.
Okay. Do you think Zeke or Tony Pollard will have more rushing yards?
I'm gonna go with Zeke, but I think it will be. I think that Zeke's gonna have another 100-yard game.
I'm just moment of realization. Dalton Schultz is our leading receiver, not yards wise, but catches, receptions. That's pretty crazy. So who do you think? He's a free agent, so they better pay him. They better. Who do you think will be the Cowboys' leading receiver?
I think that it will probably be CD because as we know, Amari Cooper does not show up on the road 99.9% of the time. The only outlier was week 1. But I think CD Lamb is going to have the most yards, but I think Dalton Schultz is going to have a lot of targets as well.
Okay. Yeah, I would ask you nitpicky things like who's going to get a sack and all that, but I don't know who's going to get who do you think the leading the sack leader for this year, and then we will get into escape from reality or this sack leader for this game.
I'm gonna go with Osa.
Okay.
Actually, I'm changing my mind. Randy Gregory. I forgot.
I like the recognition.
I forgot Randy Gregory existed. I'm sorry, Randy Gregory.
I like the recognition from Osa and Randy and other free agents. So they have a few people to cut the check for.
Yeah, exactly.
It's to the point where Leighton may not even get a contract extension. So that's more money to use towards Dalton Schultz. I don't think unless, knock on wood, hopefully Michael Gallup can come back at some point in time this year. But if this calf strain takes him out for the whole year, then I think it's more likely the Cowboys can bring him back on a team-friendly deal.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Jabril Cox, but he's going to get a lot of playing time on Sunday because Micah Parsons is, as we know, not with us anymore. He has moved on to Green Bay.
Jalen Smith. Micah Parsons is still
I'm sorry, Jalen Smith. Mike, I apologize. I would never say anything as horrible as calling you Jalen Smith, the headless horseman, as I call him. But yeah, Jalen Smith is not with us today. He is now in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. So Jabril Cox is going to get a lot of playing time. And, he's going to get a lot of playing time. So I think that it's going to be key for us to just kind of see how he looks because this is going to be his first time as a starter, playing starter-like snaps. Bill Belichick for sure knows that. So he's going to do anything he can to try and, to pick on Jabril Cox, whether that is disguising runs or disguising passes, just kind of get him a little bit confused. And he's going to probably cover one of the tight ends as he's a better coverage back than – I don't even know, but he's considered more of a coverage back than Micah Parsons is. So I
He
think
was the
he's a
best coverage out of college.
yeah. So we're gonna see about exactly what he looks like. This is gonna be his first real action for us. So I'm excited to see him play.
Speaking of Jabril, he made a heck of a play on Daniel Jones last week. Sadly, it caused him to get concussed, but that's what happens when you lower your head and lead with your helmet against a linebacker. So
Exactly.
Daniel,
Exactly.
I don't think he should play this week because I'm sure everyone saw him stand up and like wobble and then curse, go run up to him. But they're gonna rush him back. I don't really know how that works. Andy Dalton got hit and he laid there and he was out for multiple weeks, and we got to see the Ben DiNucci game. Yes.
Yes, he quite an entertaining game.
But yeah,
Yeah, but
it's funny
let's.
that Garrett Gilbert is on the Patriots, so we get a little bit of a reunion there. So
Oh, look at
the
that.
mini storylines in life. But yeah,
Yeah,
why don't we go right into your favorite topic and the reason why you wake up in the morning?
yeah. So, escape from reality. If this is your first time watching our podcast, this is the segment where we throw the Dallas Cowboys out the window and talk about everything that has nothing to do with them. So, I will let Owen go first, and Owen's just going to give us his three things that he took away from this last weekend about of NFL football that has nothing to do with the Dallas Cowboys. Take it away.
The first and the biggest, I think, was Mason Crosby, or sorry, the Packers and the Bengals. That might have been the most like painful game I've ever seen before in my life. Because I think Ray and I can both agree that Mason Crosby has had some pretty important kicks in his career, and he made them in circumstances that he should not have made them. And last week was a bad week for all kickers, but he had a really bad week. But somehow he kicked one up and he made it. So Mason Crosby, you are my first escape from reality. My second is Buffalo. They look pretty good. Speaking of Buffalo from about 20 minutes ago, they look pretty good. They still the one aspect of them that I like to see them do a little bit better on is their runners or their running back. I think they need to run the ball a little more because as Ray preached, running is how you win games. And Josh Allen, hopefully he'll be able to look like this rest of his career, rest of his the year. But I'm sure he'll have a few games where he doesn't really have it throwing, and if they can't run the ball effectively, then that's going to result in some losses. And the third, for all my Jets fans out there, the injury of Russell Wilson looks like you're going to have two top 5 picks this year. So good for you. Because you got one for trading away Blitz Boy. So good for you guys. Alex, if you listen to this, or anyone else, Nick, congratulations. Jared, congratulations on life. I'm sure you're loving it because Blitz Boy is having a heck of a career down to the in Seattle, so to the west. But good for him. Yeah, those are my three. Those are my three.
All right, great. Those are a great escape from realities. The
Thank you.
Mason Crosby blunders, and then coming back and when they needed him to make a field goal, him making the field goal, and then of course, yeah, the Russell Wilson getting hurt is kind of a surprise, but
We get to
I
see
mean
Geno Smith though.
we'll
So
see
yay for
Geno
Geno.
Smith, and just for some highlight people who may or may not remember, Geno Smith was once a West Virginia quarterback, and a little bit a blast from the past is he played the Baylor Bears the year after RG3 left for the Washington football team. They were known as a different name back then, but whatever. And Geno Smith, we had to play Geno Smith, and it was Nick Fornes versus Geno Smith, and the West Virginia ended up beating us by 7 points, and Geno Smith had a 700-yard game and 6 touchdowns, I believe. In fact, let me just quickly Google that just to make sure.
Yeah, Geno Smith had a pretty rocky career. It was funny because he played really well for last week, but I don't think people realized that they didn't game plan for him, so he could do whatever he wanted. but obviously that's not going to happen. And it the Seahawks have quite the holes on that team. I've gone back and forth with a bunch of people in a fantasy group chat that I'm in, and I don't think that Russell Wilson is as good of a quarterback as people make him out to be. But he puts that team on his shoulders, and without that first round pick, they don't need a quarterback, obviously, because of Russell Wilson. But this draft will be pretty deep in everything besides quarterback, and they could use a lot of things outside of wide receiver. And it's a shame that they're not going to have a first round pick, but instead they have Blitz Boy, who is a linebacker, and he's not even good at that. He's just a body.
Just a fact check. Geno Smith had 656 yards and 8 touchdowns against the Baylor Bears in college. So hopefully he will be able to channel some of that energy from that game as he is the new starter of Seattle. But here are my 3 escape from realities. My first one is Lamar Jackson in the Ravens. He had by far his best game of his career. Only threw 6 incompletions, career high in passing yards, 442, 4 touchdowns passing, and really didn't do very much on the ground. He did a lot of his damage through the air, which is something that he's been criticized for in the past, but it's really just shown the last few games he's had over 300 yards passing and then a 400-yard passing game. And it's just showing his progression with throwing the football. And if he keeps progressing this way, then the Ravens are going to be really tough to stop, even with them losing all of their running backs preseason and having to go into free agency and signing some players.
Le'Veon Bell.
He really looked very great that game, and I was fortunately able to catch the ending. Justin Herbert, and he also played fantastic this game against the Browns, and then also Baker being inept late in the game. So Herbert, he led the team in the fourth quarter, 398 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Really took over in that fourth quarter, just getting whatever he wanted against the Browns and just leading the Chargers back. They were down 7 at the beginning of the fourth quarter. But really the main thing that I took away from the football game is because I knew Justin Herbert was going to play well. But when the Browns needed Baker Mayfield to do something late in the game when they were down, he did absolutely nothing. And it just goes to show that if you can stop the Browns' running attack, which is very hard to do, they don't have a quarterback who can beat you through the air. Baker Mayfield. He's shown that he's a pretty average quarterback who can make 1 or 2 throws during the game, but he hasn't shown that he can be clutch late in the game yet, and especially in the NFL. And so I think the Browns, when they get to the postseason, which they will eventually make it to the postseason, he's going to be that liability that keeps them from advancing pretty far in the postseason.
It also helps when Myles Garrett only has 1 sack. If you can limit him to only 1 sack, that's pretty great. So
yeah, it just shows how great that the running their new offensive lineman is. Slater is doing pretty spectacular his rookie season, showing his draft value. Then lastly,
he might be the best rookie in the class.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outside of Jamar Chase and Micah.
Yeah, and lastly, I have Detroit. They just can't catch a break. Last week it was against the Ravens, I believe. They fought all the way back, and then Justin Tucker broke the record for the longest field goal. And this week they fight all the way back, take the lead, and sure enough, the Vikings kicker nails a 54-yard field goal. And if you know anything about the Vikings, they have a lot of bad luck when it comes to kickers. In the postseason, their kicker, he just hit a 19-yard field goal to win the game. Seattle ended up moving on. And then, of course, they missed a field goal earlier on in the season to win the game, and their kicker missed. But against Detroit, any kicker is automatic, or any team is automatic to win, because Detroit, they really just can't catch a break. But that's all we have for Escape from Reality. And I think we're probably gonna wrap this show up. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for spending some time with us. You can find us at America's Team, capital P, capital C, on Twitter. I will be active during the Cowboys game on Sunday, just giving my my thoughts on how the game is going. And then also we have an Instagram called All About America's Team. We'll post sometimes on there. Still trying to figure out exactly what we want that to be. And then of course also YouTube is where you can watch the show live if you want to. Sometimes we'll be wearing suits for victories and shades for losses. We haven't really had to do money loss shades anymore because we've been winning. But I usually find some sort of prop that I can pull out. So you should just tune in for that. And then also if you want to be hungry, you can also tune in because Owen's got his goldfish, Pringles, Cheez-Its back there behind me. It makes me hungry every time. But yeah, thanks for watching us. Thanks for spending time with us. We really appreciate it, and we will see you next week to break down the results of this football game. All right, take care,
Yeah,
guys. Go
it's great to be
Cowboys.
back. Go Cowboys.